Good afternoon. My name is Schlierf. I'm the founder and leader of Human Study, a non-governmental organization from Germany, and it's my pleasure to introduce you this afternoon to a quite alternative educational model which we would call blended distance learning or blended learning education. And we believe that in the blended learning education model lie a number of advantages. One is that we believe that we can stream this kind of education literally at any place in the world, at any time. I will come back to that fact later in my talk. But also, and this is a very strong advantage that we see, is that our students study along their employment, meaning that students can be on the job while they study, maintaining their income, and for me, more importantly, that they continue treating patients and providing services to people in need of prosthetic and orthotic services while they take their study. All this is possible by the blended approach that we use, and the word blend already indicates that it is a mix of different methods that we are bringing together. And we see this basically as a three-way blend. The one way, or one aspect, is that we are streaming all the academic, all the theoretical content online-based. We have developed over the past 10 years a multimedial, very interactive learning platform, a learning management system, where we are streaming all the theoretical content through. The second aspect for the blend for us is that then along every semester we come on site at the very locations of our students and apply our clinical workshop seminars and clinical instructions at their very locations. And this third aspect, and probably the most powerful of the blended learning education, is the effect that the lesson learned from our students through the teachings ongoing are integrated on a daily basis directly to their daily clinical work, as they are still in their constantly in employment, and the effect of their working experience coming back into the classroom the same way. And this match and this interaction of working experience and enhancement in your knowledge and skills, when that meets, this gives a very powerful dynamic that enriches this type of education very much, in our opinion. Now, to give you a little bit of an insight how we do this is, so to speak, blended learning in a nutshell. When it comes to the online streaming of the education, as I said, we utilize here an internet-based learning environment. We call this a virtual classroom, where we provide our lecture series to our students in a very multimedial fashion. This includes video recorded lectures. We also extract the audio file from these video lectures, because students then are able to follow up on these lectures just on the audio when they're taking public transport or driving a car and using the time reinforcing the lectures. But we also provide the textbooks, the study notes as we call it, as a written content, as a PDF, but also in a flip book format that allows our students to use this on their touchscreen devices. This part of the theoretical streaming we would call asynchronized educational part, because this allows students to go in and out and to repeat and go forward and backwards in this kind of environment whenever they like, whenever it suits them best. So they choose the time of their study when it fits their realities, and they also can repeat these lectures as often as they need really to digest the content. Another aspect of the theoretical streaming yet is that every week we meet regularly then in live sessions, in live streamings with our students. So students and teachers meet in a certain environment then, for example, to review together case presentations or to discuss further certain aspects of the educational content, etc. So this is in short how we do deliver the academic, the theoretical content via blended learning education. And as I already said, of course, especially in our profession, then the clinical applications are also very important. And this leads us that we are traveling then to the very locations of our students and apply our clinical workshops and seminars, their clinical instructions in their very environment. This is different subject areas according to the syllabuses, but for us it's important that we do that at their spot, because then it's their patients with their pathologies, in their realities, using their materials in a realistic setup, which gives them more confidence later when we go back and they continue in their daily working routines. Then they are not lost because it was not an abstract setting, but it was the real thing for them. Once we go back and students return to their daily work, we then follow up on these clinical instructions by obliging students to perform a number of case presentations on the very subject we have been teaching before, in order to ensure that students really digested the skills and the lesson learned through the session. And these case studies then are presented to the teachers and their classmates, and are there then for reflection and for discussion. All of that, the theoretical and the clinical approach, is enhanced very much now through a whole set of apps that our students use, but also our teachers, in the sense that they are communicating a lot. We have a WhatsApp group with over 120 participants in one room. This is really informal exchange of information, but this enriches and enhances the whole communication between teachers and coordinators and students a great deal, in addition to the more structured and formal part of the education. And for this kind of structured communication, we also apply what we call a forum at our virtual classroom, where then more written and structured discussions are ongoing. Okay? And as in any other study, at one point of the program, then we are guiding our students into a research study that then they are supposed to deliver in their papers at the end of the program. So that's in short for the blended learning approach. Now to give you a little bit of a background how it came to the blended learning education. Human Study has developed and started this kind of education back in 2007. We delivered a number of generations in Southeast Europe at first and got our Category 2 ISPO recognition on this level back in 2010, and since ongoing. But this very experience led us to the fact that we realized that there's a need now to give the Category 2 practitioners, our graduates basically, an opportunity to continue their studies in the same format, to reach the next higher level, ideally to become teachers and trainers and to take leadership in the profession. This led us to the effort that we invested to develop what we would call the Category 2, Category 1 upgrading program that includes also a bachelor degree level, because we delivered and we developed that together with our academic partners, with the Mahidol University in Bangkok, Thailand. And we have now just graduated the pilot group of this kind of program back in December 16, and have received Category 1 recognition of this very program in early 2017, early this year. And we are quite happy that this was such a successful approach, because this opens now the door for many other Category 2 certificate holders to take their studies along the job with all the advantages to reach the next higher level in their careers. Now, to look a bit into numbers, as I said, we do this now exactly for 10 years. And for the Category 2 level, we have reached out so far to reach out to students in our programs on the Category 2 level, more than 20 countries on 4 continents so far. And as the Category 1 upgrading program is relatively young, since 2013 when we started with this, we have already enrolled students from 8 countries on 3 continents, which is quite promising as we see that there is a great need in that. Today, we deliver the Category 2 program still in Southeast Europe, in the ex-Yugoslavia area, but also in Turkey, in North Africa, and we have currently a special focus in Middle East, especially on Syria, for very good reasons. And when it comes to the upgrade program, we are dealing here with students from South and Southeast Europe. We have invited students from Tunisia. These are our graduates from the Category 2 efforts, where we included students from Malawi, from Togo, and we run a separate program in Afghanistan in close cooperation with the International Committee of Red Cross for obvious reasons. And this is new, to share that we have managed cooperation, to establish cooperation with the Tumaini University in Tanzania, where we're now planning to open the next cohort for the Tanzania and the East African or Anglophone region in Africa, and maybe internationally, in the blended learning format to stream an upgrade from Category 2 to Category 1 bachelor degree level. Okay. And now I'm coming back to my first slide. When you remember, I said we believe that we can deliver this literally worldwide, at any place in the world, at any time. And if you look at, and you remember, Human Studies is a German-based organization, and we are streaming this from out there. And if you look at our little world map, we have highlighted there the countries where we have reached out to students so far in the last 10 years, and this proves somewhat that is almost unlimited, really, to address students at really almost any place in the world, which is promising because there are very many practitioners also in remote areas that have no access to structured and recognized education. And this may be a model then, not to expatriate them for many years, to lose the income and with all the disadvantages, but to enjoy the advantages of taking a blended learning education instead. Now, last but not least, I'm putting up this picture here of our pilots. These are the guys that we put a lot of effort into and suffered a lot together with us, really, to reach now the first pilot graduation of the upgrading program, which just happened in past December. I'm putting them up here because not only to honor them for the efforts they strived and struggled for, but also it has been them, and it would not be for them, because it was these very people who came to us and to me and said, hey, Chris, we did the Cut 2 with you, what's next? How we do move on? How can we now enhance ourselves? And it was literally them and their demands that was driving and motivating us as a group to sit down and to develop the upgrading program, to open the door for them, but also for all the other Category 2 certificate holders to have an opportunity to study along employment with all the advantages. Now, just to look at the partnership for your information, of course, the institutional partnership lies with the ISPO, and as I said, for the Afghanistan program right now with the ICRC and with our academic partners that provide the bachelor degree at the end of the Cat 1 program, the Mahidol University and the Tumaini University. I hope this was interesting for you and you enjoyed this little talk as much as I did. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I have this mic? Can I get this mic on? Is it possible? Are there any questions? First of all, maybe I don't need the mic. Any questions for the 4 speakers? John Fisk.
Christian, how are you evaluating the competency of your graduates?
Okay, is this working? Yes. So how do we examine or evaluate the competencies? There are different ways we do this. In the Category 2 program, for example, we are applying semester examinations in theory and practice that follow actually the full standard of an ISPO Category 2 exam, but we do this semester by semester. So students, and every semester is designed to apply one specific area talking cut tool, where, for example, it's prosthetics lower extremities in one semester, then we would, at the end of the semester, force to produce, students to produce under monitoring a device on the patient and present this device with the patient to an independent commission for grading examination. And they, of course, take a theoretical exam. And we do this semester by semester, according to ISPR standards, very consciously, because then they have, and this is a 5-modular program, before they're then really going to the final examination, when it comes to the real thing, they have already exercised a similar setup 5 times before and have a quite solid standing then when it comes to the final exams. Okay?
Okay, we have a question here.
My name is Wale Oke from Lagos, Nigeria. My question goes to Prof. and Brian. During your presentations, you didn't mention anything about doctorate degrees in PO in the whole of Europe and North America. So I was kind of wondering whether we don't have any university in Europe and in America that offers doctorate degree in prosthetics and orthotics.
Okay, Professor Blumentritt, it's asking about PhD programs, and Brian also for the USA. I had that same question also. Has the Masters Initiative stimulated any PhD development?
Right, so at this point, what we're looking at is there potentially being and we have people in the audience who might be able to speak to this as well, involved with NCOPE. But in terms of entry level, I see us being at the Masters for really a long period of time. The discussion that we've always had has been, do you advance the degree up to an entry level? And if you do that, do you run the risk of diminishing the workforce? And then in that case, we're not managing the patients. And I like what NCOPE's doing in that they look like they want to maintain the entry level being at the master's level, but also having that opportunity for those students who maybe don't want to continue down a clinical path, but maybe want to move forward and be involved with more research. But the doctorate that I think they're probably looking at, and Robin Seabrook could probably jump in here, would be a professional doctorate, would be my guess. But Robin, I don't want to wade too deep into the water. So
I'm right behind you, and that's absolutely right. That's correct. And we actually have an interest from a program right now that would meet our current standards at the master's level, but would add additional curriculum that would be able to award a doctorate level in P&O. So we're waiting for that application to come in. That's what we're hearing is coming down the pike.
Thanks, Robin. I think there's certainly, what is that percentage ultimately? I don't know, but we certainly need a percentage of, I think, people in our profession that are doing more of the research. When you look at the landscape of O&P research, there really is not only a big void, but the research that's out there many times is just fraught with confounding variables. So there has to be a segment of our population that is doing the research. So it's good to hear that. So hopefully that answered your question.
Professor Blumentritt, did you want to mention on a PhD initiative at PFH? I think you had some plans for the future for a PhD.
Yes, we are looking for that, and also what we do, we set up more and more the lab situation. We are located in the clinic surrounding, so that we have a good access also to patients, what from my point of view is very important. And I think that makes sense when we have a goal that we have an academic profession. Then it is also necessary to have for the future, maybe in 10 or 20 years, according stuff for an academic profession.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Barrett Hammer, your hand's partly up. No. did you want to comment?
I'm Baratama from Otterbock, and I just want to comment what was just discussed, but because I think it's very crucial that we establish also PhD possibilities for professionals, because if you set up academic programs, it's needed that you have also academic professors guiding these programs, and I think we run in a big shortage of professionals to overtake this task in the future.
Okay, one last question. I think we have to adjourn.
My question is also for Brian Malice. I believe the U.S. has now undergone 2 practice analyses to understand the current state of clinical practice within the U.S. I'm wondering how this informed NCOPE's overseeing of competencies required within educational institutions, and if this changed some of the practices within educational institutions.
Would you mind repeating that? Sorry, I didn't catch all of that.
I believe that there's been 2 practice analyses done.
Through ABC?
Yes, through ABC. I'm wondering if that changed how education is structured or the competencies included in education within the U.S. as a result?
Okay, I'll speak to that, and then not to put Kathy or Robin on the spot, but if I say something misspeak, please jump in. I'll start from a credentialing standpoint. I think that was a wonderful thing that our certification body, so just for you that don't know, the American Board for Certification is our credentialing body. And when you pass that exam, that's entry into the profession to be able to practice independently. I know, having been on the front side of the practice analysis, when I sat for the ABC exam, it was fairly extensive in terms of the amount of time that we spent doing fabrication and probably less of the details of patient evaluation and those sorts of things. When ABC moved forward with the practice analysis, they used that to make a determination of what the examination would look like. So they wanted the examination to be really current with what daily practice is. And so you'll see that they removed a fair amount of the fabrication and put in more of the clinical decision making. You also see that that's been woven into really specifically the residency. And if you look at quarterly reports, I know when I look at my residents, you'll see that the domains are broken down very similar to what ABC has done. So it really, it is a fantastic document. I used it actually for my thesis, so it actually saved me probably 2 months of work. So I appreciate the question. Kathy or Robin, you want to jump in if I missed anything?
Yes, I would just say that in the U.S., our process always entails, whenever we review and create our educational standards, we have at our fingertips in use and development of our standards for residency and our schools, the practice analysis and the most recent studies. So they are reflective. It completes the circle for us when we're developing our standards.
Okay, I think we can adjourn. Thank you very much for attending, for those who attended. Thank you, gentlemen.